From MNT-E-C, the Micro Nano Technology Education Center, this is Talking Technicians, the podcast about technicians, who they are, what they do, and where they come from. I'm your host, Peter Kazarnoff. I teach technicians and engineers at Portland Community College. In each episode, you'll meet a working technician and hear their story. That means real interviews with real technicians about real jobs. At the end of each episode, you'll hear actions you can take if you want to be a technician too. In this episode, you'll meet Jamel. Jamel works for Tokyo Electron, sometimes called TEL, in Hillsboro, Oregon, outside Portland. Jamel, welcome to Talking Technicians.
Thank you for having me on this beautiful, cloudy, rainy day.
Yeah, we got one of those typical Portland, Oregon days outside. So, Jamel, you work for Tokyo Electron, but you work on the inside of a Intel chip fabrication plant. Can you sort of just talk about what is TEL, what do they do, and then how does that relate to sort of what Intel does?
So I work for Tokyo Electronic. Tokyo Electronic makes the tools that makes microchips for Intel. They tie together because the tools that Intel uses are used to create microchips that go into their processors, their computers, things of that nature. That's kind of the nature of the beast between those two entities.
And Jamel, when you say tool, like Tokyo Electron makes these tools that go into the Intel factories that makes the microchip, is that something like the size of a hammer or like a screwdriver? What do you mean by tool?
These tools are, how do I describe it? These tools are things that they're pretty much square, big stainless steel boxes, essentially. That makes them, and they could be, 10 feet tall. They can, 5 feet wide. But each tool is uniquely different based off the process you're using at that time.
So one of these tools could be, the size of a small bus or minivan, and it just does one of the processes that goes into making individual microchip.
Yes, correct,
okay.
Correct. That is the base of it, yes.
Okay. So Jamel, can you describe for me kind of what's a general work day like for you? What do you do at the beginning, what do you do at the middle, and what do you do at the end?
Every morning starts with a pass down. Pretty much, it's a meeting that we have with Intel and the tool owners, and we just go over that day-to-day process of what's going on that day and what needs to be handled. From there, we come up with a plan of action depending on what the issue is that day. For example, if a tool is down for, a pump issue or things of that nature, we figure out the issue, diagnose the issue. Then we can the troubleshooting process to get that tool up and running. If it's a PM or preventive maintenance for that day, pretty much we go in and we do a service on that item to get it back to performance level. That's pretty much the day-to-day functions of what I do. One day it could be a PM, a traditional PM. One day we could be switching out a small motor. So it's very vast day-to-day depending on what it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then, Jamel, at the end of the day, when you're done at work, what are the kind of things you have to do to then prepare the next technician?
You have to form your pass down, right? So you have to put together paperwork and discuss what you did for that day on that particular tool. And then you are very detailed in that procedure. So whoever picks it up next after you, they can read it and know, okay, this is what Jamel did the previous day. This is what he worked on. So we're not turning wheels doing the same thing over and over again. That's the biggest thing post doing the work is creating a pass down based off what you did that day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So at the beginning of the day, when you go to work, you look at the previous technician's pass down to see what you need to do. You go about your work. It could be maintenance work. It could be some sort of troubleshooting or possibly like repair work. And then at the end of the day, you write out what you did so you can pass your work down to the next technician.
100% correct.
Yeah.
That's how you create efficiency and great time management. Where if I tried a procedure that previous day, the next technician will not try the same procedure that didn't work for me.
Right. So that makes it so people don't repeat things that you've done, and also makes that next technician like do whatever the next job that really needs to be done.
Yes, I wish every facet of life was like this.
So, Jamel, this sounds sort of like shift work. Can you talk a little bit about what your working schedule is like?
Yes. So when I first started out, I was doing your traditional shift, Monday through Friday. And then as I went along and gathered more experience, I transitioned over to compressed shifts. So it's three fours and 4 3s, which means that you work 3 days, off 4, work 4, off 3, and there are 12-hour days each day. So that's the biggest transition from working, I guess you could say, your traditional Monday through Friday to working a compressed shift.
So I think I have a general idea kind of what you do at work, working for Tokyo Electron and helping to maintain and fix the tools that are used to build microchips. Let's kind of transition and talk about how you got to where you are now. So can you describe for me a little bit about where you grew up, and then after you were a teenager, what did you do next?
Oh, wow. Long story here. No, not really. So I grew up in Fort Pierce, Florida. Traditional upbringing, went to high school, went to college. There after high school, college wasn't clicking for me per se. So I went and joined the military. I joined the Army, did 7.5 years, deployed. I go to S04 Delta, which is CBRN, a chemical, biological, radiation, and nuclear specialist. Pretty much my job was like, I did everything you can think of day to day. When I say everything, I mean literally everything. When I was in New York, my day would start off with me doing, maybe looking at schematics over a particular weapon that we're ordering. From talk to my commander, my upper leadership about potential safety issues that's going on in the building, from organizing where to put snow that day, right? It's the experience that I learned in the military is like invaluable. I would take nothing from it. From there, I transitioned out of the military, and I moved back to Fort Pierce, Florida, where I went to school. I was coaching Little League baseball as well. That was also an interesting experience. So I did that for like a year. So one of my good friends, Marcus Bennett, he called me. He was like, hey Jamel, what do you know about semiconducting? I'm like, I don't know much about it at all, right? So he reached out to me, and we was talking about his experience of him going to the Vet S.T.E.P program. Okay. So from there, I reached out to Kate Alicott, and she pretty much put me in the room of semiconducting, and I got like a crash course of what it is, how it's done, how it's used in our day-to-day life. From there, I went to the course. I did the best I could, learned what I could. I used those skills that I learned, and also the resources from Kate as well, who is an amazing person. Like, into like getting at TEL. It was a process for me to get to TEL. I was told no a few times, right? For this being brutally honest, I was told no during the intimidating process of hiring. But eventually I got on with TEL, and TEL has been everything they've been advertised when it comes to me and the growth I can potentially gain there. So it sounds like after high school in Florida, you did a little bit of college and then went into the military, worked in the Army, and then you did this Vet S.T.E.P program that eventually led you to working at Tokyo Electron in the semiconductor industry. Yep. So let's talk a little bit about the Vet S.T.E.P program. What is the program, and how are you able to just do that financially between being in the Army and then having a job at Tokyo Electron? How does that work? Interesting. So the Vet S.T.E.P program is a program put together where vets have a transition to STEP to get a stepping stone out of the military. So in my case, I was already out of the military when I did the Vet S.T.E.P program. But it's also meant for people who are in the military transitioning out as well. So the Vet S.T.E.P program for me was, like I say, it was a position where I was introduced to something that I didn't know existed, correct, right? But I was introduced to it, and then I'm like, wait a second, I've done these things before. I've worked with, I've worked with schematics. I understand how certain things work. I understand how to being punctual, following step-by-step processes. And these are things that align with me personally. So it was very easy for me to like, okay, this is something I really want to pursue. The Vet S.T.E.P program is an amazing program that I think is not being properly used, unfortunately. There are a lot of people who are currently in who are not getting the full access to the Vet S.T.E.P program. I don't know, I don't know why, but I think every person who was transitioning out should be given the walkthrough of the Vet S.T.E.P program unto their next course of life.
And what about the Vet S.T.E.P program made it that you could eventually work for Tokyo Electron? Do you think you would have gotten your job without it?
Honestly, no. The Vet S.T.E.P program was able to put me, like I said, in a room with hiring managers, with hiring recruiters, with supervisors that I was able to speak with, and they helped me through the interview process. They helped me just get through the overall process from beginning to end. Once again, when you don't know about something, it's really hard for you to like understand it and do it yourself. So the fact that I was in the room with hiring managers and recruiters and supervisors, people who are actively in the field for a decade at least, it made that I would never gotten that exposure anywhere else.
Yeah, so it sounds like both exposure to skills, like the things you have to do when you're working in the semiconductor industry, but also exposure to people in a network, like those hiring managers and the people that are going to read through your resume. That was also part of the program too.
Yes.
So Jamel, what advice would you give to folks who are either in community college that are currently in the service or working in a career, but they want to make a transition to possibly work as a technician like you? What would you say to them?
Just do it. I know it's kind of vague to say, right? But you have the experience, right? You have to trust yourself and what you know, and you just have to put yourself out there in front of others to show like, yes, I can do these skills, I can do this job, and you just have to go 110% behind it. And like I said, for me personally, I was told no a couple of times, right? But that never deterred me from what I'm able to do. So you just have to believe in yourself. Kind of cliche to say, right? Believe in yourself and just do it, and just know that you have the skill, you have the ability. You just have to trust yourself and perform your ability. You have to perform at the best of your ability. I wish I could give a blueprint to that, but everybody's path is a little bit different. So my path is a bit different from yours, but I think universally, you have to trust your skills, what you learn, what you know, and just go through with it.
So, Jamel, to finish up, do you have a final call to action or something that you would say to the audience to make them aware of semiconductor careers and the work that you do as a technician? Not everybody knows about this job.
Try it, right? Experience it. Get the experience. It's not just semiconducting, right? Well, for me, example, right? Semiconducting, I work inside the fab essentially, right? But there are other avenues where, okay, you don't like the fab, you don't want to be in a bunny suit, or so you can work corporate, right? You can transition to a supervisor and manager, particularly for TEL, where all right, cool, fab, you don't see yourself working in a fab 15 years or so. You can like, okay, I want to transition to a supervisor and do more management things on the backside. There's many different avenues within semiconducting that I don't think people are aware of, and you just have to put yourself out in the forefront and say, okay, I want to try this, and if it doesn't work out for you, it's okay. but you have the skill, you have the knowledge. You know, okay, I tried this. I can parlay these skills I learned here into this.
Yeah, so Jamel, it sounds like working as a technician isn't a dead-end career. It could be the beginning to like a lifelong career and move into other avenues within that semiconductor industry.
Most definitely, 110%. Because you work in safety, right? You can become a supervisor, a manager. There's many doors, but you have to knock and ask. Right, so I think that's the biggest thing I took, to learn in semiconducting is that, like I said, if you don't want to be in the fab, you can learn and progress somewhere else.
Well, Jamel, thank you so much for being on Talking Technicians and speaking with me about your work at Tokyo Electron. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Please keep in touch.
Most definitely.
Talking Technicians is produced by MNT-E-C, the Micro Nano Technology Education Center, through financial support from the National Science Foundation's Advanced Technological Education Grant Program. Opinions expressed on this podcast do not necessarily represent those of the National Science Foundation. Join the conversation. If you are a working technician or know someone who is, reach out to us at info@talkingtechnicians.org. We're always looking out for great guests to share more stories with you.